Well, jeepers! You're listening to Smash or Pass.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another interview on the JayBee and Milly channel. I am JayBee and of course with me is Milly.
Hi.
And we have Dan Farrell.
Hi.
We have Sophie.
Hey.
And the special guest who will be interviewing today is Jennifer Hale. Thank you so much for joining.
Hello, it's my absolute pleasure.
So it's incredible to have you here. Oh, no worries at all. I mean, it's the kind of beauty of doing these things in this format. And I guess on that, we are proud to announce this as our 100th episode special. So it's absolutely incredible to have you here today to commemorate that.
I am honored. I am honored and very excited, very happy to be here.
That is wonderful. So I do want to run through your career and talk about some different aspects and kind of pick your brain about a couple of things. So just doing some research on things like IMDb, I can see that your career really began in about 1988. But before that point, what kickstarted your kind of journey into acting?
I took one acting class in, middle school because my friend wanted to go and I didn't have many friends. I was like, yeah, I'll go. And I wasn't that crazy about it, honestly. I was like, it's kind of weird. I feel embarrassed, And then I moved and ended up going to a fine arts high school, honestly, because I would never have made it at a regular high school. I was bullied like mad. I was born with a bullseye on my forehead sort of thing. And very sensitive kid and all that. So the fine arts high school really saved my bacon. And the only way I could think of to get in was through theater. And so I learned my monologue in the parking lot of a bar where my mom was visiting a friend the night before and auditioned at 9 a.m. and got conditionally accepted. They were like, we don't know if you have talent, but we won't leave you out. So I got conditionally accepted and started learning the craft. And partway through high school, I was offered a job at a video production studio because at the plant store where I'd been working, they had come and done a shoot and the director was like, you look like you work hard, come work at our place. And I was so excited to work in video production, I didn't know if I was going to get paid or not. I thought it was just because it was cool. And he looks at me and he says, we don't work for free. And I went, oh, that's a cool idea. So that was right next door to an audio studio. And because I went to a fine arts high school, I could speak without a Southern accent. This was in Birmingham, Alabama. And they asked me over to do a Valley Girl, which I could totally do. I was like, my first job. And they paid me, I don't know if it was $30 or $35. And I was like, what just happened? What just happened? So I pursued it like a business. And a dear friend of mine she was already a successful working voice actress, and I asked her advice and I got the mentorship of the people who worked there, and I pursued it very doggedly like a business. I mean, I did things like, I was still a teenager, I put my hair up in a bun, put on a suit, and cold called ad agencies with my demo. It was mortifying, nauseating, and I knew it had to be done, so I did it. Yeah. But this is just, sorry to interrupt, Milly. This is a piece of my career that I don't think people are as aware of, and I think it's really, really important for people starting out. I spent 8 years in a non-union market, in a tertiary market. In the US, we have these distinctions. There are the primary markets, which are, at the time, were New York and LA. And then there were the secondary markets, which when I started were Chicago and Atlanta, and probably Boston, Dallas, places like that. And Birmingham was way down on the list. And so I made a living doing all those little jobs. I mean, I think I worked my way up over the many years, getting paid from $30 to $75 for a radio spot. And it was scary to raise my rates. But I also understood through my peers not to undercut other people. It was the wrong thing to do. And I mean, I pieced together, I did on-camera commercials, I did corporate training videos. At one point I was driving back and forth between Atlanta. I was doing a trade show during the day and a play in Birmingham at night and getting up to do it again the next day. And it only worked because there was a 1-hour time difference in my favor. So it was nuts. But yeah, I'm very familiar with that grind, that starting out grind. I know it well.
Yeah, I think, like you say, getting into the industry and kind of the start of everything is certainly one of the things that kind of a lot of people find the most intimidating is just getting that access for the first time kind of thing. And I think, we're all certainly glad that you have been on the journey you have, and we've got to appreciate the work that you've been involved in. And I think it's also quite inspirational to how you were saying with that first lesson, it didn't always feel quite natural. I studied drama for 5 years and initially it certainly didn't feel natural at all. But I guess kind of, were there any shows or any programs or anything as well that you kind of feel engaged your interest, particularly in the industry?
It was my greatest ambition was to sing. I mean, was singing and songwriting. That's my joy. And I started singing in rock clubs when I was 15. But by the time I was in college, just toward the end of college, I could feel that acting was where I was making money. I thought I only have so much time in the day, and I probably need to put it where I'm making money and making progress. So, something I still miss is being in bands and, singing and all that stuff. I still record from time to time, but yeah. And in terms of, I was not allowed to watch cartoons as a kid. I was not a gamer. I simply saw a practical solution that I had a talent for, and the door seemed to be opening, so I said yes. But I was also not a person, I was not raised in a way where I was allowed to have my own voice, ironically, where I was allowed to discover what I liked. That was not part of how I was raised. So I was very fortunate to end up in this lane, with that particular element in place.
Yeah, and so I know a lot of our audience, as we discussed prior to recording as well, we said a lot of them are aspiring voiceover artists.
Yeah.
What would your advice be to them if they're watching now and they want to go down that path?
Well, Dan, I mean, come on. One thing I'm going to say is go here. Go to skillshub.life. Because seriously, I say that because I created that site. And I can't do it alone. I did it with my sister and our friend Bill. It was the three of us came together. And when I say we and my, the company, and I'm a co-founder with them. And what this site is, originally it was started because I was sick and tired of auditioning by myself in the void. That we, even after, 4 decades of this, I'm still like, my brain is an echo chamber and today's not a good echo day. I just needed 10 minutes with someone I trusted, and I described what I foresaw to Bill and Karen, and Bill went, you know what? And he went away and he built it. And then as we did our research, because we did over 50 different beta tests with people, and they were all about an hour a piece or more, it became really clear, like, people who are just starting out are feeling really confused and really lost, and they don't know who to trust, and they don't know what to do next. And there's a lot of great places to learn the craft, but how do you put it all together? So we put a lot of those pieces on the site, and then people didn't really know how to use it because there's so much there. So I was like, well, let me teach a class. And that was a year ago. And I taught my Start It class, and I was like, whoa. I just saw it. I was like, people need instructions. They need the Lego manual. So I sat down and I wrote these paths, and there's a path, if you've never done it before, it's called the Foundations path. And somebody's out there wondering how much. It's $12.99 a month to join the site. And the foundation, the paths are free. Like, you get these Lego instructions free when you're a member. So what I did was I wrote out the foundations. If you've never done this before, maybe you've done other forms of acting, or you've never done anything, these are the exact steps to follow. And once you finish that, or if you've got that already, you go, all right, I want to follow the commercials path, or the demo path, or the games path. And then I just wrote what I call the free range path, which is kind of covers everything else. It's like, it tells you, like, start here, watch this, do that, check this out, look for a coach who does this. Because now we started out with 20 something of my friends, and now we have, who are voice directors, casting directors, top working actors. And now we have 83 people. And the way that they get accessed is you can book as little as 10, 15 minutes with them. So if that's what you can afford, you can do it at the pace you can do it. So you go through these paths, the free range path. It's like, get coaching from a coach who does, say, if it's audiobooks that's calling you. And we have a filter. You just search it and you go, I'll try that one. And it tells you exactly what to cover. So I wrote out these paths. And then you need to check in. And we operate on these 4 pillars that we spent a couple of years like figuring out. We spent a lot of time in foundation on this company. And it's like, you gotta plan it. Like, if you're going to the grocery store and you don't know where it is, okay, you'll find one eventually, but that's a lot of time, so plan it, learn it, pretty obvious, practice it. Because how many of us have taken musical instrument lessons and we never practiced? Did you get any better, really? It's the same in here. It's the same. So practice and then check it. Like, if you practice that instrument forever and you were doing it wrong, now you've actually integrated bad habits, and that's where the check it comes in. And somebody can give you a golden nugget in a check-in session that saves you months. I am the biggest fan of the shortcut. I am the hugest fan. Like, yes, if you're really valuable, take my money. Here's what I have set aside. Take it. And I just saved time because they're not making more time, last I checked. So the principles of that, whether it's on Skills Hub, it's skillshub.life, acting.skillshub.life, whether it's on Skills Hub or whether it's somewhere else, those principles of pick your destination, because VO is a giant, giant landscape. And everybody gets hooked on those shiny objects, commercials, animation, games, right? We have an infographic in our resources section. There are nearly 20 different ways to make money with your voice. So pick some of those lanes that aren't as crowded. Audio description, e-learning, medical narration, like whatever you want to do, corporate presentation, who knows? Audio drama, podcasting, whatever it is, right? Pick a lane and follow the plan. And I think of those, we describe those as income streams. Like your money flows like a river, and you make your first little stream and it starts feeding into your money flow. And then you get that thing in maintenance, and then you go build the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And then you've got a nice river. And then you're making choices from a place that you love. So whether it's on our site or anywhere else, create a plan, go out and learn what you need to learn in sections and in pieces, and break those goals down. Everybody's got that big goal of, I want to succeed in this. Awesome. How executable is that? Break it down into, what are you doing with your next 90 days? And listen, I really want to talk about this. We deal with this a lot on the site, which is the head game of it. We drive ourselves so hard, and we expect constant productivity from ourselves because that's what the culture's taught us, because that feeds the corporate profit machines, right? We're trained to feed those machines, right? Rest and restoration are really important. So sometimes your 90 days is, we have these free workout rooms for members. You can just go, and there's so many out right now. Somebody's teaching each other Mandarin Chinese or a New Zealand accent, or practicing commercials or practicing improv. Like they're always there. Anybody can make them. Any member can make them, and they're wonderful connection points. But let's say your 90 goal is, I'm going to work out with friends, 4 times, once a week, okay? Or twice a month or whatever. I'm going to get coached once a month or twice a month or every week or whatever. I'm going to take 3 classes during this 90 days. I mean, that's a heck of a 90 days. Maybe the next 90 days, you're like, I should do that again. You're like, I can't. It's not a personal failing. It is a need for restoration. This morning, I found myself scrolling. I was like, what am I doing? Because that's counter to my goals and values. And I went, oh, I need rest. And this involuntary, unconscious checkout is me trying to rest. I went, okay, instead of it a character flaw or a mistake, I'm going to go, okay, you know what? Do you want to scroll with your free time? I'm like, no. What do you want to do instead? Go sit under a tree. Okay. Can I scroll under a tree? Sure. Do whatever the heck you want for the next 30 minutes. Just go do it. Now, I haven't hit that 30 minutes yet, but I will tomorrow. I don't know, maybe Friday. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, building in rest and recovery is so, so important. So have a holistic view, because this is a marathon. It's a marathon, and it needs to be sustainable, and it needs to be sustainable for you. That's one of the things about Skills Hub. It's like, it's customizable because that's what works in real life. And you can go get the opinions of trusted people who can reflect back to you like, you're doing great, or are you just avoiding right now because this piece of building your emotional library, if you're having into voice acting, is really challenging? Oh yeah, I am kind of avoiding. Okay, let's pick a challenge for you. Let's go do something hard, and just one hard thing a week. That's it. Or one hard thing a month. Whatever your pace is. Like, design it humanely for you, because how we treat ourselves is how we treat everyone else in the world, in a way. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So those are some of my initial thoughts on how you would start today.
That is incredible. I guess for people watching, I can't wait to discuss this a bit later as well. But I will be sure to leave all the links to Skills Hub in the description down below for people to follow.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, truly great advice there. I mean, yeah, Skills Hub, such a really great tool that you've created. There are certain projects where voiceover artists have been known to record together, and others where they record remotely. Do you have a preference on how you like to work and why?
Yes, I love working with other actors. There's a secret X sauce that happens when you can hear the other person, when you can energetically interact, and it is much greater than the sum of those two parts. You know, if you had recorded a scene with the lines separate, and then you're going to have a great performance from, I mean, everybody working in the industry today who's working consistently is wonderful. But you put us together in a room, and, you know, it's like if you guys had to do your pieces of this podcast individually versus all of us being together, it's uplifting, it's enlivening, it's invigorating, it's brings that X factor. So that's absolutely my preference. And I will I'll say still, the majority of games are done in isolation, but I've been doing that for so long, I can imagine the other person. And some of the most wonderful directors will read with you. They'll read in with you. And I love to work in scenes. If I'm lucky enough to have a piece of a script that is a scene in a game, it's very common in animation, but in a game or in, you know, cut scenes, I love to do it in flow. I love to do it as a scene, and then we go back and pick up stuff that we need. And so many voice directors, and to me, they are some of the unsung heroes of the industry, along with writers and, I mean, the whole dev team, right? They're actors. They have an acting background. So they're great to read with. It's really fun. And I will often ask who is playing the role of the person that I'm interacting with. I got to, oh God, I think it's Journey to Foundation. Anjali Bhimani plays a role, well, it's pivotal to the experience of my character, and she's one of my dearest friends. So I was like, oh, it's Anjali, let's go. I can kind of imagine her, right? So.
I mean, it's incredible because we've obviously been great fans of your work for such a long time, and it's a pleasure to have you here today to discuss some of those things because it's just so iconic. And I think a good example, kind of leaning into that, is your work within the Scooby Doo franchise, which I believe first started in actually 1994 before the Hex Girls stuff in a role in the Arabian Nights movie. But I think at that point, say 1994, careers-wise, what was your approach going into a voiceover role versus some of the work you'd done maybe in live action and stuff like that?
Don't get fired. That was my approach. Just please, God, don't get fired. Please, God, let me be good enough. That was honestly my approach so much in the beginning. And I think that's probably a really common experience when you're starting out. Like, please, God, let me be good enough. Please, please, please. You know, that role was such a dream. I love that you bring that up. It was such a dream because, number one, it was Gordon Hunt directing. And Gordon is, I say is because even though his body has left the planet, his spirit is still very much with us. He was one of the kindest humans I've ever known. And he was brilliant as a director because there's a real magic that happens when you describe a scene to actors, because that's the role of the voice director. You know, they're behind that mic and they set the scene and then they get out of the way and let the magic happen. Many voice directors aren't dialed into how the actor is hearing them. And Gordon 1000% is. He would take the time to set the scene. And then right before you're about to go, he would be describing and he could see. And good voice directors can see when they've sparked something. And they will get off the button. That means let go of the talk, stop talking, and just roll. And capture the magic. Because if something gets missed that was an important detail they were going to say, you can go back and pick it up. But anybody who's performed, you know that moment when somebody said something and you're like, oh, like that's what you want to capture. And I was working, it was Brendan Fraser and I working together, recording the movie. We were the two leads and we recorded together for 2 days. We went to lunch together, all of us. And it was just, he's a lovely human being. He's just another kind, bright, like such a work ethic. So, I mean, you can see it in his work, right? Incredible human. And, you know, I only know him in the work arena, but I found him to be just an incredible human in the work arena. And it was just such a great experience. It was so beautiful. I feel incredibly lucky that I got to do that.
I mean, we feel equally as lucky to be able to consume that content as well, because everything that you've done within that realm and with all the realms, be it games and animation, has all been absolutely incredible. And I know you mentioned like prior that you weren't allowed to watch, you know, cartoons and you weren't exposed to that. In hindsight, say going into a project like Scooby Doo, do you think that possibly helped at all? Because maybe if you'd grown up watching it, there'd be a bit of extra pressure there to go in. You maybe had some preconceptions about it.
Yeah, I don't think there could have been any more pressure than the pressure I put myself under. I don't think there's any greater source of pressure than my own brain. But I was a book nerd. I had my face in a book for most of my childhood, or I was outside with my dog, wondering how people got friends. Like that was my story, right? And I think the love of story, and that really grew my imagination. You know, I've worked, forgive me, I worked in the British zone quite a bit in my career. And that, honestly, I believe was because one of the many voices in my head is, well, a few of them are British. I don't know where they came from, but I hear them all the time, you know? And that's that imagination piece that gets built from just living with books for years and years and years. Yeah.
I mean, I must admit we're book collectors too, and absolutely, like you say, I think the worlds of like stories and things just, you know, genuinely really do inspire people. And of course, I think, like you said, a key part of it as well is just work ethic. I think, like you say, coming in with the approach of not wanting to get fired, you always work harder. And obviously I think that kind of shone through, because then again in 1999 you were brought back and we were introduced to the Hex Girls through Witch's Ghost, which I think is kind of like a key founding moment for most people in Scooby Doo history. So do you remember how kind of, you know, getting back into Scooby Doo came about? Was it kind of relationships were just maintained, or again, like, you know, that hard work just shining through really?
It was an audition. Like, that's the truth of it, is we all audition all the time. You reach a point where you're lucky enough to get work without auditioning, which is beautiful, but it's not all the time. And you still audition all the time. At this point in my career, I still audition. This is the way to, so I auditioned for that. Yeah. It was, and I had an existing relationship with Colette Sunderman, our director, she's wonderful. And you know, plus it was singing, right? And that's my joy. So it's like, oh my God, I really want to do this.
Yeah, I mean, I will admit, I think we can all agree that we wish there was like a Hex Girls CD or something, because it's the best movie ever seen in the best music ever seen in Scooby Doo.
Right? I live for the chance to sing those songs. I just love it so much, you know? Yeah, and my favorite one rarely gets pulled out. I'm like, you guys, this was the best one. Yeah.
Yeah, they certainly were amazing. And I know you said, like you say, you've got a couple of voices in your head, some of them been British. Where did the voice come from for Thorn? Is it that you'd kind of seen the character and could imagine her voice? Was it that you kind of were given a bit of a brief of what it was meant to sound like? How do you kind of adapt these voices?
Yeah, we get a brief. In the US, we call it the description and the sides, and it's the description of the character and the script. For me, it always comes out of the writing. Everything's in the writing. It's out of there. And just I love to connect to like, what's the first thing that sparks for me, and live in that. And then I'll push hard for an opposite idea of some sort. But generally it's the first thing that comes into my head. It gets the first takes, and then I'll go in and try the others. Because that's a really important piece of it. You know, something you said sparked something in my head, which is that pushing to be better. It's an important tool, but like a hammer, when you start using it to open a window, you have a problem, which is balance must be developed as you go along. The ability to acknowledge where you are better and to go, you know what, you're good enough right now. Just relax. We'll do another push for progress in a minute, but let's just stop and acknowledge where you are. So, yeah, so those are... I've lost track of the question, but thanks.
And in terms of, obviously, I know you said what appealed to you about the Hex Girls, obviously the singers, but I know sometimes with voice acting, the voice of the character can be different from who's singing, but obviously you do sing as Thorn. How did that come about? Did you have to audition? Did you have to sing like a song for the...
Yep, singing was part of the audition for the character because she was going to be the lead singer. Yeah, and all of us, I mean, Jane Weedland, I'm sorry, she's a go-go. Like, she's like rock and roll royalty. And Kimberly Brooks is amazing. Fantastic voice on her too. So we all were very, very happy to be working together.
And you work absolutely brilliantly together. And just for the audience, what is your favorite Hex Girl song?
There's a monster scaring everybody. Spooky footprints, kinda strange and muddy, and a terrified town that doesn't know what to do. That's my favorite.
Love that.
I think it's called Those Meddling Kids. I think that's the title.
I mean, that was incredible. We're like, Thorn was just singing to us, like, oh my God. I mean, on my Spotify account, I've got all the Hex Girls songs. So when they start playing, it's like banging tunes, all of them. So we just love the Hex Girls.
I didn't even think of that. I was like, oh my God, I could have, wow. Excuse me, I'm going to Spotify.
Thorn and the Hex Girls have since become an iconic fan favourite. But at the time voicing her for the first time, did you ever suspect that so many people would resonate with her?
No, I had no idea. And I've learned, I've been in this business long enough, right? I think this was true before I ever even left the Southeast. I don't have expectations. I have a commitment to keep showing up, and I have a real practice of humility and curiosity, and going to mentors to say, okay, things seem slow right now because it's a cyclical business. And I'll check in and go, is it me? Is there something out of date or inconsistent or not working in what I'm putting together when I send out auditions or I do jobs and stuff? And I'll get the yes or the no. Most of the time, honestly, for most of us, it's just a small adjustment or sometimes a no. You're fine. I don't take things personally, and I don't expect great success from any project. I've had things that, my God, they spent so much money on these projects and then they never went. And things that were just these quiet things I was just going to do. And they're like, whoa, took over. Like, holy cow. Yeah.
Was there a particular moment when you became aware of how big the fan base of the Hex Girls were?
I think once I started doing conventions, I really got a sense of it. And then when I got on social media, especially Instagram, like, it's so exciting. I love all the Hex Girl love out there. Love it.
I mean, there was a great outpour of Hex Girls love quite recently, and I think a lot of people were quite disappointed to know that there was actually a cancelled movie, Scooby Doo and the Haunted High Rise, that would have featured the Hex Girls. And I remember speaking to director Carolyn Gare about that, and it was like a dagger to my heart. So, I mean, are you able to say if you recorded for that, or if you auditioned for that, or wasn't it at that stage yet?
I haven't heard, I don't think it was at that stage yet. And also, to be honest, I'm not allowed to speak about any work anyway. Everything's under NDA. So it's just my personal policy. I don't talk about it unless the producers have already announced first. And I've seen it and gotten their permission. I remember when Overwatch released the character of Ash, I was under lock and key because I was going to BlizzCon, I think, on the Saturday. And on the Friday, I start getting texts from everybody going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, it's you. And these are good friends. And I'm like, I just don't answer the texts because I'm not allowed to say anything till tomorrow. And finally my agent emailed and she's like, you can say yes. I was like, okay, thank you.
Oh, that's absolutely understandable, and a really good practice as well, because I think that to make it so endearing, because I mean, obviously with it being bad news, it was incredible to see all the fan art that people made, just, apart from that project aside, just how much love the Hex Girls still have after 22 years from their debut. So what's your response to even that fact alone, that even after 22 years, there's people from all ages that rally behind those characters?
It's thank you. Thank you to every single one of you out there that express your love and support and enjoyment of the Hex Girls. Just thank you. I think it's so cool.
It certainly is. I mean, but I can also see exactly why the Hex Girls are still as popular as they are. I mean, honestly, I think one of the most memorable lines for Scooby Doo is, one of your last lines in The Witch's Ghost. I seem to remember that more than kind of any line, really. I think it certainly was impactful, the entire introduction of them, which I think has been great in contributing to, the success they still have. So you have also had various other roles, as well as reprising Thorn throughout the years as well. Do you have any favourite memories from your time working on those that you can remember?
Oh my God, so many. But first I have to know what the line was.
Which return from which you've come, I think, was the line when you send Sarah Ravencroft back into the book.
Yes.
For some reason, that line's more prominent than most of the deliveries of like meddling kids and everything. It's ingrained in my mind.
Yeah, because it's so powerful, right? It speaks to the whole like millennia long journey of the feminine power in our world. It really does. Okay, so my favorite experience working as a Hex Girl or in general?
I guess we'll go with Hex Girls first, because I mean, certainly we all have much love for that. So
Doing the songs, working with Kimberly, probably when we went back in, and I don't remember which one it was. It was like it wasn't the first time, but it was when they brought us back in to record songs again for a subsequent project. Being in the studio with Kimberly and Jane and just like, it was just so awesome. I remember exactly what it looked like. I remember what I was wearing, mostly because we took pictures, and Jane was teaching me about social media. Yeah, it was awesome.
Amazing. And I guess, certainly I think that kind of summarizes a lot of the questions that we had. I mean, we have to know, and again, kind of appreciate, like you say, there is own personal policies here and everything, but is there any other upcoming projects that you can mention or talk about, or that, you'd like to kind of throw out there?
What can I talk about? So much of my energy has gone into Skills Hub. So that's like the first thing on my mind. And because what's lifting my heart so much is the stories of people coming out of it, or just people who are members. No, people stay, is just the success that everybody's having, and just the forward progress and how they're feeling so good. So, all right, let me think about my work. I can't talk about that. I can't talk about that. Just released Synapse, or Synapse, as you call it in Britain, with Dave Hayter. We're co-starring, I guess, in that together. Great game. That project, I don't think I can talk about that either. Wonderful animated series out of Canada. I just wrapped a couple months ago, and I sing, and I am such a terrible human being in it. I am such a villain, and it's so much fun. I got to eat some serious scenery in that one. There's a lot coming down the pike. I just can't talk about it.
That's okay. I imagine it must be incredibly difficult to kind of remember what kind of where the line is to some things as well, of what's been announced or hasn't.
I'm actually coming across the water. I believe in November I'm going to be appearing in Birmingham.
Oh, wow.
MCM or one of those. Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah.
It's always good.
I'm sorry, all my professional that's just gone out the window. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Are you guys near there? We have to get together. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my God, how exciting. Yes.
That's where we first met Sophie near there, isn't it?
Oh my God.
So that's just 2 weeks. Like, I don't know. Okay, compose.
Yeah, you've been to a different character now,
Oh my God, you guys, we're all just humans. Let's hang out.
Well, even though you can't say anything, it sure sounds like you've got a lot on the go, which we're really looking forward to see, which we're, of course, very excited. So where's the best place for people watching to keep up to date with your work?
I am on Twitter. I am at JHaleTweets. I'm much more often on Instagram these days. I am at JHaleGram, because the ground keeps moving on Twitter. I can't keep track of it. I ask everybody, I'm sure this will date itself at some point, but with regard to the writers and actors strikes, just thank you for your support. Please continue to share and to support. It makes a huge difference. They can find me on those two places. You can always find me at skillshub.life. I'm teaching my Start It class again in the fall, and I do AMAs on the site. They're free. Like, ask me anything about the craft, about the process on the site. Oh my gosh, I have a very special event that I'm doing next spring in April 2024. It will be on location, in a tropical location. It'll be beautiful. It'll be out on social media soon. I don't want to announce before they announce, but it's the conference is called VOcation. It's about the working side of voice acting. It's classes on how to grow your business and things like that, how to build an actual VO career. So I'm lucky enough to do that. And those are probably enough places to find me. My Instagram feeds to Facebook, but I'm kind of Facebook avoidant because I find it overwhelming. Yeah. And you can also find me outside in the woods, at the ocean. That's a lot of my Instagram feed is my dog, the ocean, the trees. I can hear an owl, that kind of thing.
That's absolutely incredible. And kind of, as I said, I'll leave all the links to Skills Hub in the description. And I guess to that end, just to wrap things up, for those people watching that are looking forward to getting into the voice acting business and everything, what are the maybe 3 things that you would suggest or advise for them to do after, directly after finishing watching this interview?
I want to be really thoughtful about this. Hang on a second. Right after this, when you're feeling inspired, sit down and write a letter to yourself from your future self. and describe where you are. You can dictate it into your phone if handwriting's not your jam. Handwriting's really powerful because it engages certain parts of the brain that are really, really, really useful in actually moving things and changing things. Because don't forget, if you're not in a VO career right now and you want one, that is a change. You have to engage all your change stuff, which is you're going to get pushback from your brain going, don't, change is threatening, so write it down. Write a letter from your future you to your now you, and in that letter, describe your day. When you get up, the session you went to, the check you pulled out of the mail or you found in your direct deposit, like how it feels, where you're going to go on vacation, what the quality of your life is like, what your health is like, what your relationships are like. Write yourself that letter from your future self. And here's the one thing, hands off the how. How is none of your business. Your job is to cast the vision and then show up in your day, listen to your gut, and follow the little steps that are calling you. Whether it's going to Skills Hub or going to any of the other amazing places out there to learn from, whether it's looking through D. Baker's site, iwannabeavoiceactor.com, whether it's any of that, take the step. And when you don't, when you procrastinate, as we all do, when you avoid, this is the second thing, give yourself grace. Be kind to yourself. Start a 30-day challenge of being kind to yourself, starting from your first thought in the morning until your last thought at night. And it's going to be weird. It's going to be different than a lot of the thinking that a lot of us do, right, or are taught. But if you can get 0.5% better a day, that's a huge change in a month. And then keep it going. And when you get that pushback going, oh, when's it going to go back to how it was? The question you ask yourself is, I wonder how great this can get. How great can this get? How easy can this get? How fun can this get? How abundant, how big, how cool can this get? How killer of a community can I find? This is going to be awesome. And it's brain training. This is not positive attitude at the exclusion of everything negative. When the negative comes in, because it will, you go, oh, listen to yourself and validate, go, oh my God, that really does suck. Wow, that feels terrible. What do you need? I need to mope for half an hour. Okay. I need to mope for 2 days. Okay. And you'll get really bored really fast with the moping. And then you go back to work. So write that letter, have compassion for yourself, and start, let me think, what's the third one? Oh, take on health like an active revolution. We've been kidnapped by companies that profit off of getting us to do this and getting us to shove things in our mouth that they call food that are really bad for these systems that were not evolved for this. They're evolved for how our great-great-grandmothers ate. So sit back and evaluate. And this is not to say don't eat this and eat that. That is none of anyone's business, mine included. Just go, am I conscious about what I'm doing? My body at all sizes can be healthy. Am I healthy with my body at whatever size I choose? Am I hydrating? Am I moving my body? Am I getting healthy? Because if you want a voiceover career, you need your air systems. You need your cardio built so you can do twice what you need to do in the booth. Because those first few times you go into any new situations, and this still happens to me, you will lose a chunk of your air. You'll be like, why am I not able to breathe? Why don't I have enough breath to get through this sentence? Because natural anxiety has kicked in. So build twice what you're going to need. So when you get nervous, you still have enough. Move your body, be in nature, define what's health for you. Those are things that are health for me, but that's my definition. You take it back. You tune into those instincts and you take yourself back.
I really love that. Thank you. That last one really spoke to me as well. So I'm not only looking forward to seeing, say, personal progress going back to this, but also hearing maybe some of people's progress and success stories in the comment section down below. So really excited to see that. And I guess if people are watching this and you do want to share some of your experiences down below, we're definitely encouraged to do so. And now I guess for the process of wrapping things up, as I said, we're going to leave all the links to Skills Hub in the description down below. But Dan, where can people follow you?
Yeah, I am on both Twitter and Instagram at danfaz94.
And Sophie, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Scooby Doo for Life.
That's absolutely perfect. Definitely recommend that people follow them as well. And of course, you can find our link tree in the description down below. Thank you, Jennifer Hale, for joining for the 100th episode special, and for Dan and Sophie, and to everyone watching this. It's an absolute pleasure to have everyone here today, especially to commemorate this episode. So it does mean a lot. So thank you so much. And if you want to see more, then please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And thank you for having me on for this incredibly special episode. Congratulations on 100 episodes. And if I can, I'd love to request that, if you feel any progress from anything we've talked about today, tag all these guys on social media, tag me on social media, and because that's part of our community, right? That's where we can foster some of this beautiful stuff out in the world. Thank you so much for having me, all of you. This has just been such a joy.